Hey yo, check 1 2 1 2. You know how we do. I can't believe I just did that.
You
This is
did.
DJ. This is DJ Sir Daniel,
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay the Third.
and welcome to another episode of Q Points.
Q
Your
points.
your home and space for for meaningful dialogue about the global impact of Black music. And you know what? I'm gonna let that intro slide because guess what happened this week or happened yesterday by the time you guys see this.
What happened?
It was hip hop's birthday.
Hip hop is a birthday, y'all, and hip hop had a birthday.
Hip hop had its birthday. Hip hop was established on August 11th, 1974.
It's four, I think.
So
Mhm.
that makes hip hop. No, I think it was 1973,
Is it
actually.
73?
It's
Okay, yeah, it might
73.
be 73. Okay, I knew it was 73 or 74. But hip hop is like 48 years old.
Listen, hip hop is our big brother.
It is literally.
August 11th, 1973, 1520 Cedric Avenue in the Rec Center.
Mm-hmm.
Cool Herc, DJ Cool Herc,
DJ Cool Herc,
the
man.
legend,
Yeah.
threw a back to school party, a back to school jam for his little sister.
Yep.
And the rest is literally history.
The break beats, the energy, the everything that was happening that day, create was the elements
Mhm.
of hip hop emerged from that party. And man, listen, we get a chance to do Q points because Cool Herc had a party in 1973 and gave us inspiration, Sir Daniel.
Absolutely. Senate designated August 11th as designated as
Mhm.
Hip Hop Recognition Month.
Yeah.
Well, the Hip Hop Celebration Day, and then August 2021 is Hip Hop Recognition Month,
Yeah.
and then apparently in November
November. Yep.
it's going to be Hip Hop
Hip Hop
History Month.
History Month. I'm so looking forward to that. Stay tuned to Q Points for Hip Hop History Month. Like there
Listen,
is so much to talk about.
I don't know how that's going to manifest, but I'm here for it. I'm happy for it. I do have a question for you though.
Hmm.
So, does hip hop, with all with its global reach,
Yes.
with its hand in every aspect of our life, basically
Mhm.
being hip hop is the culture, the dominant culture, if
Yep.
you will, and so many people are involved in hip hop. Does hip hop need more gatekeeping?
Oh.
Wait, while you think about that, I'll say why I asked this question.
Mhm.
So Tyler the Creator, he's been in. He did an interview with Ebro and their team at Hot Night. No, yeah, Hot
Yeah,
97.
Hot 97. Yep.
Um, like a week or so ago,
Yeah.
and Tyler is always going to give you a good interview. He's going to give
Yes.
you chunks and chunks of sound bites. And
Yes.
one of the things that stood out to me the most was he was stepping into his grown man and he was really feeling himself and stating how proud he was of his accomplishments.
Yes.
And however, when the last project, I believe was was it
Yeah.
Igor?
Yeah, the
Igor
Igor
came out
Project. Yep.
and he pretty much washed DJ Khaled,
Mhm.
and they basically asked him to address the whole DJ Khaled um comments.
Yeah.
And basically Khaled just couldn't understand how the creator, could topple his album. And so, and
Just so
really,
weird.
which is very weird. But I love Tyler's response. Tyler was just like, it's almost as if he couldn't understand. He couldn't understand why I'm so successful.
Mhm.
And it just got me to thinking, why do we have, I'm just going to say, it, why do we have so many non-Black people
Mhm.
that are calling a lot of shots, that are supposedly the tastemakers, the movers and the shakers of the culture,
Mhm.
and who decide what's hot and what's not. You
Mhm.
know, How did that happen?
Mm.
How did that happen? Does there needs to be more gatekeeping? Do we need to have more people who look like us? Because I mean, unless hip hop, black and Puerto Rican. If you're talking about
Absolutely.
1520 Sedgwick in the
Yeah.
Bronx,
Yeah.
do we need to have more gatekeeping in the culture?
Um, so I'm going to answer this question in two ways. The first way is the reality is that even though Black and Puerto Rican folks are the foundation of hip hop, the business of hip hop always included people that were not us. So that's the
Yeah.
thing. So if we take a look at how hip hop was able to emerge when it did, it was being able to go downtown into Manhattan
Hmm.
and schmooze with the rich white folks. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So these folks, Def Jam, this didn't happen.
Yeah.
D- Rick Rubin needed to be part of Def Jam. Def Jam became a thing because Rick Rubin was part of it too. Like Def Jam became what it became because Rick Rubin was doing what he was doing in that dorm room as well, right? So and he white. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
Um, so I think that the reality of hip hop's massive success is it always included um at that level it always included the white folks. So that's why people feel like they can call the shots. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
there's always been executives that have been calling the shots. Like literally people sitting in those seats making the decision about how stuff moves for better or for worse. That's a whole other show that we can get into.
Yeah.
Um so I think my second part to that question is um I don't know if gatekeeping is the right word. What I actually think we need more of is freedom. I think we need more freedom to create. Like the beautiful thing about when you and I were growing up with hip hop, there was a diversity in just the amount of people that were doing things. And it was different and it was interesting. And it was like, sure, that's hip hop too. So it's
Mhm.
funny when I think of even just DJ Khaled saying, how is this possible? How could
Yeah.
this happen? Because Khaled, because there's a you, there has to be a Tyler. Because there's a
Right.
Tyler, there has to be an Earl sweatshirt. Because there's an Earl sweatshirt, there has to be a Freddie Gibbs. Because there's a Freddie Gibbs, and I could go on and on and on. Like that's what hip hop has always been about.
I get what you're saying. I guess it's the, and Tyler didn't say this, but I think it kind of, his comments kind of alluded to the fact that, who is this guy to question
Right.
the the limits that
hmm
hip hop, or put a limit on hip hop and the creativity of hip hop. Who is he?
Who is
You know?
who is it? Who are any of us to say here is what hip hop is? And I think there's always been um there have been folks, and I actually think this is how we've ended up in the situation where we've ended up, right? Where
Hmm.
so much money gets involved. There are
Yeah.
people that are at such a high level, they get to say, here's what's getting played now.
Right.
I actually think we need the reins taken off of hip hop
Okay.
so that so that folks could hear more stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there needs to be more.
Mhm.
The floodgates need to just open up even more.
Floodgates need to be opened wide, but here's the thing, and I
Yeah.
think we'll get into this later. History is so important. What was so dope about that Tyler interview? Tyler know his history.
Yes. Yes, he does. And that's what I absolutely adore about Tyler. Because there was a time I was like, who is this kid? But as time progressed, he
Mhm,
proved, as you said, he knows his history.
mhm.
He is a student of the art. And that's what I appreciate.
Yep.
And I think I'm picking up on what you're putting down is that we need more as we evolve. even further, as we get older as a culture,
Yep.
we can't forget
No.
about the history. We can't forget about the foundation and what it actually took. I think, okay, I agree with you. Yes, we need more, but
Mhm.
I guess we need quality control.
Quality control, but I think the quality control comes from the audience. Like that was the thing back in the day, right?
Hmm.
We get the opportunity as an audience to say what's hot. There was joints that came out when we were kids that was booty, right? There were
Totally.
joints that came out when we were kids that were booty that went to number one. And then we get to talk about that on Q points and say, well, that happened because somebody in an executive seat said, this is the thing that you need to be hearing.
Right.
So, but I think it comes back to the audience being invested and educated in music, not just
Hmm.
even hip hop. Like that's the other thing about Tyler. He was talking about like, I like music. Like I
Yeah.
study music. I get musicality. Um, the audience are the people who need to like that ain't it. Like to
Yeah.
decide that ain't it or that's it.
Because the corporations will use, as we've done in our other shows, they'll use try to force a face on you.
Yep.
You know, they'll try to force an informer, a
Yep.
snow on you because
Yep.
they believe that they know what's best.
Mhm.
So, uh, and according to what Jay Ray is saying, the biggest flex is for us to do our own quality control and speak up. And I guess nowadays, back in our day, it was we would talk with our money
Yep. Yep. Yep.
on what we purchased.
Mhm.
Nowadays, I guess it's talk with your strings.
Talk with your streams, man. Just don't stop streaming these artists. Like, just stop. There are people who say with regard to reality shows, stop making stupid people famous. Stop making whack rappers popular.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
stop.
Just stop. Matter of fact, go stream that all of De La Soul's catalog.
Go stream all of De La Soul's catalog because they have ownership of their masters and they are going to be dropping those records. The Tommy Boy, the old Tommy Boy stuff
Mhm.
will come out and y'all can hear it.
Y'all can hear it
Finally.
and you can drive it up the charts, drive it
Yes.
all the way to the top, and let corporate America know that you know the deal and you know what's real. See,
Mhm.
I keep rhyming tonight. I guess I got it's hip hop's birthday. What you know?
Right.
What more can I say? And as
What
we,
more can I say?
I keep doing it. I'm not even trying. But as we have births, we also have deaths.
Mhm.
And I'm saddened that it seems like every episode we are saying goodbye
Yeah.
to our legends, to the people who have really created new frontiers for music, including hip hop and
Yeah.
soul R&B.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this week, super producer, probably one of the most versatile producers
Yeah.
in the game, Chucky Thompson passed away,
Yeah.
and again, such a young age, at the early age of 53,
53, man.
which is so young, which makes me even marvel more at the fact that he was his young age when he was in the studio with Mary J. Blige working
Yeah.
on My Life and the
Yeah,
Mary
man.
album. He was one of the original producers in the Bad Boy Camp.
He's one of the
He's
hit men.
he was one of the hitmen. He got to start with Chuck Brown. He was a DC native banging the congos with Chuck Brown. I mean, you can't musicianship like that just doesn't come along anymore.
No. Like he literally comes from, the 90s were the not the final frontier of that, but you there is a distinct difference between the producers that kind of came through the lineage of the 70s, 80s and into the 90s with
Yeah.
people like a Chucky Thompson and Stevie J and Mario Winans, all of them folks is
Hmm.
in there, the track masters, all of them is in that kind of lineage. Um Coming from musicianship, coming from cruise coming from, you know, this moment in time. And I know that we have versions of that today, but Chucky, man, was that was really sad. And we just got to see him in the Mary documentary. I
Yeah.
was so happy to see him in that documentary. And I'm glad that we got a chance to at least celebrate him for, you know, people who probably didn't know, got
Yeah.
a chance to be like, oh, that's the guy that
Hmm.
was producing. And so the rumor, by the way, for that record, for the My Life record specifically, is that Chucky produced that record for free. He didn't get paid to produce the record. Like he took on, it's Puff. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But he took on, at least that was the rumor at the time. So if somebody's in the chat and know different, drop it in the chat. But that was the rumor at the time, was that, yo, he picked up the production duties on the Mary record for free. Like he was just like, yo, we about to get in the studio and we gonna rock.
And why? Because he had a vision.
Mm-hmm.
He had a vision from Mary, and he and Mary, when singers, artists link with certain producers, there's a synergy that
Mm-hmm.
is created, and it just, when it happens, and they just run with it.
Yep.
And I can imagine that, I've been in places where I'm at a gig and I was only supposed to be on there for what, 2 hours?
Right.
6 hours later, I'm still
You-
spinning because I'm just in there, and you've seen it
yeah.
yourself. And I'm just in there because I'm just having such a great time because I love that. And I love that all the tributes to Chucky
Mm-hmm.
are along those lines of how giving he was
Yeah.
with respect to his craft and his art. And I think one of the things that I'm saddened about most is the fact that we won't get that, or we may not get that resurgence of go-go music that he was supposed to be working towards, because that he's a DC native.
Yeah, man.
Started out in Chuck Brown's band. If you need to Google who Chuck Brown is, you need to
Do it.
know. You
Do
need to
it.
know, and you need to stream that.
You better start streaming Chuck Brown. My first favorite song. I think you know this, Sir Daniel. My
Mhm.
first favorite song ever. Apparently, I was two.
Yep.
Is Chuck Brown's "Bustin' Loose."
I feel like busting loose.
Mm.
I mean, and that's a foundation record, if you ask
It
me.
is. Mm-hmm. It
Hip,
is.
and if we go back to our earlier topic of hip hop and hip
Yep.
hop's birth, a lot towards hip hop went from like a disco,
Mm-hmm.
and electro funk era in talking about in the mid '80s, went
Yep.
into a go-go phase.
Went into a go-go phase. Yep.
Some of your favorite records are go-go
Go-go
influence.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And Chucky Thompson was a part of that.
Yeah.
And and working with greats like Nas. We talking about somebody that worked with Nas, Juvenile,
Mm-hmm.
Mary J. Blige,
People.
Ledisi. I mean, how many people have the versatility to do that? And it's just sad. I'm just saddened by it all. I'm saddened to see another Black man leave at such an early age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes me reflect. Soon as I heard it, once again, it made me reflect on the conversation that we had about, Black men in health, how it's
Yeah.
really important for us to continue to have those conversations. Um yeah, like we have to keep doing it. So rest in power to Chucky Thompson. We will miss you, man.
Now, unfortunately, I don't know if this has been, well, from what I've read, he passed away due to complications to COVID.
That's what I heard. It was complications from COVID. And
And if we're talking about that's a part of Black men discussing their health. And unfortunately, I'm seeing, it's a really touchy subject when we get into discussing, who's vaccinated and who's not.
Mhm.
And, the reasons behind people not wanting to get vaccinated, and, people deciding, well, this is my choice. And, people are really up in arms about wearing masks. And I don't know. I if it just means, that you get to be here, why not do it? But then again, you can't tell people what to do. It's just
Mm-mm.
really a sad situation. And again,
Absolutely.
and I'm not passing judgment on Chucky because I don't know
Right. We don't know
if
what
he
the
was
situation was. Yeah.
right. It was just from allegedly from the complications of COVID.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
just a very sad, and it's something that we all need to talk about as well. This is a part of the conversation when it comes to our health.
Yep. Yep. Nothing more to add there. I think you are absolutely right. We can't take this lightly, y'all. And we got this new variant out here. I'm back up in the house, Sir Daniel. Like, I ain't even playing. Like, I'm like, listen,
Listen,
as
this go ahead. No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
no, like as much as I miss group settings,
Yeah.
baby, I'm gonna have like 3 masks on if I'm out there because it's just like, and I'm just gonna go on the record, I am vaccinated, but that does not, just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean you can't contract COVID.
Right.
Once again, they've been saying that from the beginning. Now, it is supposed to prevent me from being really ill and ending up in the
Hmm.
hospital and all of that stuff.
Right.
But who know what this variant is giving? Like, I don't know what this variant, and I don't want to know.
I don't want to find. Listen, this new variant is doing the Tootsie Roll all across the nation, especially in Florida and Louisiana. And I'm just, yeah, I'm keeping my eyes and ears open for sure. But I'm
Yes.
like you. I'm being very cautious. I want to. I'm still living,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm being very cautious as well. I'm on the
Yes.
record. I'm vaccinated as well. Been vaccinated for a while now too. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Knock on wood. I'm praying. Whatever you, our viewers, whatever you choose to do, I just pray that you stay safe and
Yes.
use your mind, use your heads while you're
Yes.
out
Yes.
there.
Yes.
So we're going to do a Yuri here and talk about something completely different, lighten up the mood a little bit because everybody's talking about who Beyonce. Beyonce.
Yo, Beyonce, you say?
Beyonce? Listen, I mean, so Beyonce, of course, is and the cover story of Harper's Bazaar. The whole interview, the layout has been all over your internet for the past
Yes,
few days now. With good reason. She discussed a lot in
a
the
lot.
interview.
Yeah.
She alluded to dropping new music,
Yep.
which is, as a DJ, I'm excited to know
Hmm.
where she's gonna head
Yep.
into as far as this era, as the kids like to
It's
call
the
it, this
era.
this new era of Beyonce. Um, she looks, she looks gorgeous. She's Beyonce. I mean, that's
Right.
you know, but I think the quote that's been getting the most traction in the article is this one. So, and this is Beyonce speaking. I feel many aspects of that younger, less evolved Beyonce could never F with the woman I am today.
Mm.
Now, J. Ray, could younger J. Ray F with the man you are today?
Ooh, that's a ooh. Yes. Actually, yes. I
Younger
do.
J. Ray could
The younger J Ray. I think the beautiful thing about where I am at this moment in my life, and it's funny that that quote from Beyonce was there. I think that um I think I'm being the person I wanted to be at my core when I was younger. Now, like I'm
okay.
living that now. I think everything that I did between like 25 and like 37 was a departure from what my truth was.
Okay.
And so I do think that my younger self will be like, yeah, now my younger self will be like, you need more coins though. Like you should have figured that out.
Yeah.
But other than that, I do think that my younger self could get with who I am today because I think I'm more that person. I'm more my 20-year-old self at 44.
Wow.
Yeah.
And see, I I think that the younger Sir Daniel would be in awe
Mm,
of this Sir Daniel because the younger Sir Daniel, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you saw my Instagram story earlier this week, I posted this another quote from Beyonce about how she, basically alluding to the fact that when she was younger, she wasn't as vocal as she is now.
Yeah.
And I really I related to that. I
Mhm.
related to that, and because I was very I like to be in control of my surroundings, of the energy around me, but at the same time, I didn't quite have my voice yet. So there, and I was doing things unlike you. Well, maybe like you. I was doing things to appease other people, whereas I was not doing the things that gave me joy. And so now, at my big age,
Mhm.
yeah, if the younger Sir Daniel could see me now, he'd be like, "Oh, wow, you can actually you're doing that now? Okay, I thought we kind of buried that and got
Yeah.
rid of that dream. No, no, we're doing that now, kids. So yes, I'm standing up for the younger Sir Daniel now and being completely who I am. But I really appreciated her saying that
Yeah.
about especially another quote that people are reacting to, especially us Virgos. Yes,
Mhm.
the people are having an attitude now because they're like every Virgo is using that Beyonce quote now to justify their behaviors, but it's a very true thing. A lot of us are are reserved
Mhm.
because those sides aren't necessarily there for everybody to see. Those are sides that if we deem you, and it may sound, full of myself or any other Virgo self, but if we deem you worthy, or if
Yeah.
we feel not even worthy, if we feel safe around
Safe.
you,
Yeah.
and that's major. If we feel safe around you and allowing you to see past that iron curtain, you get to see that kind of stuff, and that's for you. It's not for everybody. And so I think what I just really appreciate her evolution. You
Yeah.
know, she's part of that generation. She's about to be 40.
Yep.
She's about to be 40. She had that taste of the end of the analog era that we grew up
Absolutely.
in.
Yep.
And she's had that taste of digital and analog. So she's a hybrid. So she gets the references of the past, but she's also a lot of, the kids' fave. But
Yeah.
she represents a standard now. And so,
Yes.
I'm really happy for her in that
Mhm.
aspect. And, of course, her kids are in all her ads.
Yes.
It's just a really good feeling. I'm happy for it. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's interesting that you just talked about her being the fave and kind of the standard of this moment. So if you are watching this show, she talked about a very specific rearing as an artist that made Beyonce who Beyonce is today. Because here's the thing, there are opportunities like a Lil Nas X where you can kind of stumble into something and figure it out, right? So Lil Nas X is figuring out performance and stardom and like all of this stuff as he goes, right? Because an opportunity was planted in front of him and he's seizing the opportunity. Beyonce comes from the school of we gonna grow you up. Like we going to rear you in this school of artistry. This is when you sing, this is how you sing, this is how often you sing, this is how you practice, this is how you get ready to do what you do, and you do it with excellence, right? And she also talked about not trying to top herself anymore, which I thought was really really cool because that's often something we've talked about this where she's just competing with herself at this point. Like there's
Yeah.
just nobody as good as she is. And that's real. Like, I'm not even gassing, like, I'm not like a Beyonce stan. There's
No.
just nobody as good as her. Like, she's going to outperform you every time because we now see in this interview, it is who she is. Like, it's just, and one thing, and I'm hoping that folks will stop doing this as a result of this interview because I'm a late to the Beyonce train kind of guy.
Mhm.
And I remember specifically when I got on the Beyoncé train, and it was watching her perform Who Run the World Girls on the Billboard Awards. I hate that song, but I
That was the
love.
moment.
I was literally sitting there like, she literally dancing with herself up there.
Yep.
Like, who? And then it came up and it was like 1,000 people on stage and they were in lockstep. And I said, listen, you don't get to be at that level without you having something. Beyonce's got it.
She's
She's
got it.
smart. She's really good. And so when she talked about, starting her production company and all of that stuff, what I want to us to start honoring is Beyonce, the businesswoman. And I think people want to put her into, like, it's hard for, and I think we do this to women a lot. We want to put them in, they're being controlled, or there's, she has a team and she doesn't come up with her own stuff, and, she's whatever. And yes, she has a team and they're a crack team. And she talked about that team because she built that team.
Absolutely.
When you're good at what you do, you build the team of people around you who can get you to the next phase. She did that because she decided really early what kind of career she wanted,
Mhm.
and knew what types of things having that sort of career required. And what that brought back for me is, remember we talked about the infamous elevator incident and how people were like, Beyonce was just kind of standing there when we were looking at the thing. Because when you can see 5 steps ahead,
Yep.
she couldn't have reacted because she knows what career she wants, and her reaction to that moment could have changed her direction.
Yeah.
And so she had to not only emotionally deal with that, she had to physically make a choice because the woman knows exactly the career that she wants to have. That's remarkable.
She knows what career she wanted, and she has mastered this industry of social media
Mhm.
and just media in general. I would, if you speaking of the elevator incident, I wouldn't be surprised if she just stood there because she knew, you know what, there's probably a camera on this elevator.
Absolutely.
I don't have to do anything. My
Mm.
sister's handling that light work.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
because she knew, and probably, and you didn't hear anything about it until the lemonade project came out, and she kind of alluded to it, and let everybody else draw their own conclusions. You have to study this industry and media to know that that's what's going to happen, and to know how to strategize your approach to life incidents like that. You know,
Yep. Yep.
so hats off to her. I'm like you. That Billboard performance was the moment I was like, huh.
I literally was
I was
like,
like, you know what? I was like that because it gave me a feeling of when we saw Michael Jackson moonwalking across that stage.
exactly.
We knew that was a moment that was going to live on forever.
Yep.
So yeah, I totally get it. She deserves all the accolades. And now that she's stepping into 40, listen, that's when the real powers, that's when you really reach your superpowers.
Yep.
Speaking as somebody in their 40s, deep in their
Exactly.
40s. So, all right. So clearly, Aaliyah was a friend and an influence to Beyonce.
Absolutely.
And now we have access to Aaliyah, Tony Braxton,
Mhm.
Tank, and other musicians that were
Yeah.
part of the background music catalog
Yep.
that is now finally released to all streaming platforms. And listen, Barry Hankerson, and for those of you who don't know, Barry Hankerson was once married to the Empress of R&B herself,
Mhm.
Gladys Knight.
Yes.
And so Barry Hankerson has been in the game for a while.
Really long time.
And so when and he's he was Aaliyah's uncle.
Yeah, Leah's uncle.
You know, his sister is her mother.
Right.
So that's how the relationship, that's where the relationship comes from. If you
Yeah.
didn't know that, that's your jewel for the day. You
Yes.
got something new. So I'm just wondering, you know, there's a lot of discussion about why so long? When was the holdup? Well, why wait? Why keep it, you know, the music away from the fans? You know,
Mhm.
especially listen, that Tony Braxton Libra album,
Hot.
you
Hot.
know, y'all know, for those of you that y'all know, Take This Rain is
Yo,
one of my favorite songs. If,
that joint
if,
is a smash.
if we talking about Go-Go earlier, that Rich Harrison, that is just
Mhm.
anyway. So Tank, you know,
Mhm.
another R&B impresario, just
Mhm.
really great music from
Yep.
a label that all of a sudden it just, you know, he just put the kibosh on everything and
Yeah.
just stopped it. I'm just wondering, and I know you guys are wondering also, like, why? Why?
Well, so I actually had that question up until watching I think it was Billboard. It might have been Billboard or Rolling Stone.
Mhm.
This week I watched an interview with him because he's doing a lot of press. And there's two things. The first thing is how emotional talking about Aaliyah is today for him.
Hmm.
He literally was getting choked up today. Oh, you watch the interview. This interview couldn't be 2 weeks old. He's still emotional talking about her now, right? So that's one. There's three things. Two, um, let's stick with Aaliyah for a second. You know, her immediate family, so her mom and her brother ain't even with this new situation.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're not okay with this, but you
Right.
know, he can do it. And so the family dynamic, right? So he talked about the fact of when Aaliyah died, like the dynamic of my family changed.
Yeah.
Because that's his family. That was his niece. So you have family. So you have my niece dies. Family dynamic goes crazy. And then third, the industry is literally that requires you would have to have a team of people working on that stuff to help you get to that next point
Mhm.
because we're talking about the mid 2000s probably was the last official, might have been late 2000s last official black round release, and the industry was changing. So if you don't have people around you, one, if you're not emotionally able to even conceptualize these changes and deal with them, and then you don't have people around you that are kind of working through it, yeah, of course you would just like just no. Like I don't because I could see him being at the point where he's like, I don't understand this enough
Hmm.
to say yes. So you know what? I am going to say no.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
can do that because I own it. That's actually so what I love about us being in this moment and actually him kind of because I had never seen an interview with Barry Hankerson before. I'd
Yeah.
seen pictures of him.
Right.
So actually seeing his face and seeing him talk about this happening, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I totally get why he wouldn't have at that moment. He just wasn't ready. He wasn't ready."
So we've kind of painted him as the boogeyman,
Yep.
basically, for not giving us what we wanted, you know, because we wanted, I guess we wanted to stream the
Yeah.
Aaliyah
We
projects,
wanted the Aaliyah projects.
the Tony Braxton projects, the
Yeah.
Tank projects, you know. But but you know what? I'm wondering if that is a generational of the generational thing. Like, I was I upset? Uh, I mean, if I was looking for specific songs and I couldn't download it, yeah, it was, you know, it
Right.
kind of, you know, was a hurdle at the time. If I, you know, or I'm doing a gig and I need, you
Right.
know, MP3 of the song. But did it bother me? I don't know, because have I had copies of that music before?
Right.
Yes. Maybe because we had physical copies and stuff of the
Maybe.
product that it didn't hurt us as
Mhm.
much. But this generation, and listen, they want they want
Mhm.
and they wanted, to be able to stream that music. And now they not only can they stream, but there's plenty of they're putting together box sets
Yep. It's
and
gonna be great.
vinyl. I know that vinyl
Yeah.
is going to be super expensive too.
Initially, it's probably gonna be cool. We should get on that. Definitely get them, especially them Aaliyah joints. You definitely want to get them vinyls,
Yeah,
because probably only one that's been on vinyl is Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. So I would doubt that One in a Million, definitely the Aaliyah record wasn't on
yeah,
vinyl. So get them vinyl joints because they're about to be hot.
absolutely. And I'm going to try to add that to my collection as well.
Yeah.
And can you believe it? It's coming up on August 25th. It's coming on what? Where 2021 20.
20th anniversary of Aaliyah's death.
I still remember that night. And if I could
Yeah.
share, well, it was nighttime when I found out because I was at the time I was working at a radio station here in Atlanta, um, pretty popular radio station, and I was coming through the doors getting ready to do my shift at our sister talk radio station, and I saw the music director running around in the hallways, and it was weird that she was there on a Saturday night
Mhm.
because music directors are they're Monday through Friday,
Right.
and then they hit the clubs to get new music and all that. Anyway, so I thought it was weird, and so I spoke to her and I was like, what are you? She was like, man, she's like, I'm about to go on the air and I'm gonna have to announce that Aaliyah died. And then I just stood there in my tracks and I was like, what? And she told me, she was like, yeah, the news is coming in that she succumbed in a plane crash. And I just remember her going on the air and asking me to hop on the phones because that's what you did back then was, you
Right.
called the phone lines and talk to the listeners and try to get people to call in and express themselves once they heard the news. And I just remember I there were kids on the phone in tears
Yeah.
calling because they couldn't believe what they just heard. They just didn't they couldn't fathom.
Right.
It's not like now where we can, we pick up our phones and we get stuff instantaneously as it happens. We might even get footage of it and see it for
Mhm.
ourselves. Back then, you had to wait on the outlets like television and radio to get the news. So the young people then, it really affected them. Like kids were in tears calling. And I remember one young person sounded like they were hyperventilating. And I had to stop them. I was like, listen, hey, are you going to be okay? Because
Mhm.
this person just did not sound well at all, just from the impact of her passing because she had done a lot of press. This is right after Romeo Must Die,
Yeah.
and she was just up at the radio station
Yeah.
not too long, maybe about a week earlier, and I saw her passing in the hallways. She was doing 106 in Park. She was doing all the press. She was everywhere because Romeo Must Die was out. The if you
The album dropped and
the Try Again song was
Mhm.
super hot,
Mhm.
so she was everywhere. And so in that instance, Rock the Boat was
Yeah.
everywhere. So
Mhm.
in that instance, simultaneously, her image is everywhere.
Everywhere.
And then all of a sudden, you're telling me that that's gone.
Mhm.
And so I just never and that was one of those celebrity deaths that I really think had the biggest impact on me, mainly because of where I was
Mhm.
physically at that time and and all the emotions that were coming at me at the same time. But yeah, that was just a really and I can't believe it's been 21 years now. Wow.
No,
Wow.
no,
No,
yeah, this is the
20,
20th. Yep, this is 20.
20th. Yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
you just never I don't know. It's just one of those moments and I just had to share that with y'all. That's just one of my stories there. But
yeah,
yeah, I can't believe
yeah.
it. Still
Yeah.
can't believe it to this day, but yeah, now we have the music.
Now we have the music. And yeah, one of those ones. Yeah, I remember that. I was in the car. So I was in the car, and it was not nighttime. I feel like it was daytime. So it was probably the next day.
Okay.
Um that I actually heard it, and probably was in the morning. And no, I feel like I know what time it was, but it was definitely earlier in the day. But I was in the car because that's what you did. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
popped on the radio, and I'm sure I was going to school or something like that. So you hop in the car. I'm not watching nothing. I'm not listening to nothing. I'm just getting dressed to leave. And then it's like, wait, what happened? What happened? Um, so yeah, and to your point, we now have, at least folks can stream the music. Her estate, can reap the benefits of that streaming, and that's really important. And now we get to have fun with some vinyl stuff.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, uh super excited about the background stuff, and definitely we will never forget Aaliyah. I mean, we now
Never.
never, and it's so funny um now, because I wouldn't have imagined this in 2021.
Mhm.
But when you play classic R&B radio today, Aaliyah joints play all day,
All day long.
all day. Like, and I would not have fathomed that 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
More Than a Woman and Rock the Boat and all of the Aaliyah songs literally play all day, every day. You could probably hear Aaliyah 5, 6 times because those songs are just great R&B tunes.
They absolutely are. They're part of our fabric,
Mm-hmm.
as a nation, as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
And she was one of those young women that came along and flipped the industry on its head, flipped
Yep.
how we listen to music, introduced us to Missy and Timbaland.
Absolutely.
And another young lady that came along and, you know, completely changed. She's a billionaire now, basically.
Child, you know who we talking
We talk
about.
listen, when I tell you I'm so proud of my homegirl because if y'all didn't know, yes, I'm Bajan born. I was born in
Yes.
Barbados. And whenever I hear about Robin Rihanna Fenty and the accomplishments that she's making, listen, I go into my Bajan bag, I pull out my flags, and I'm just super, super happy. But so Rihanna's a billionaire, and most of that money was accumulated not from the music, but
No.
from her side hustles,
Yeah.
and that's a great side hustle.
Baby, these are her main hustles at this point. Yeah, Rihanna being a billionaire, let me get it right, because she corrected us a couple of years ago. Rihanna
Rihanna,
being a billionaire, I think is I'm just so happy. So when we're bookending, right? So we talked about Beyonce, and now we get to
we
talk
did.
about, yeah, and now
I
we
just
get to
noticed
talk
that,
about
and
Rihanna,
yeah,
and these women who are just these powerhouse business folks.
yep,
So yes, not only are they musically astute, but they are business people. And the fact that Rihanna Rihanna
Rihanna.
took, I know, right? Took this major step and really has changed the makeup industry, the lifestyle industry. Um is just so remarkable. So
Yeah,
I can't hate on you. I can't hate on that.
at
I ain't
all.
hating on it.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can get if they make him in my size. I'm gonna get me some fancy drawers
Boom,
too. Uh,
boom, boom.
or you could smell like her. She got the perfume just dropped. All of that, but to your point though, more than anything, I think it's there's wealth building. There's some generational things, some
Yes.
generational impact that this can have.
Yep.
I know that there is a eat the rich movement at this time.
Mm-hmm.
There's an eat the rich movement at this time, and there's people who, absolutely hate capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
and they have their valid reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's just something aspirational, maybe,
Yeah.
about seeing this little girl
Mm-hmm.
from my island come to the States and just completely turn the world upside down on its head. Another person, another artist who in the beginning, the music was kind of like, eh,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep.
but I don't know, there's something about a haircut and some black hair coloring that could just completely flip the game on top of his head
Yeah.
and just turn her into a superstar. But she's another person like Beyonce, and they, how they used to try and pit them against each other.
Exactly.
But she had to have a work ethic too. She may not dance like Beyonce, but Rihanna definitely has her own type of work ethic, and it has worked for her.
It has worked. Rihanna worked like point blank period. And I will say that I
No
was
pun
also
intended. No
right. Work. Right. I'm not gonna do the thing. I was late to the Rihanna train. Like
Mhm.
I got there at Umbrella. I was like, Umbrella, I like this is great. I
Yeah.
love this song. This song is good. It was great pop song, whatever. But I think what going back to the capitalism thing, I think stuff can be two things.
Mhm. Yes.
Stuff can be two things. Like I can hold questions and feelings about billionaires and the amount of money that people have and poverty in this country and in the world and all of those things. I can hold all of that and also celebrate the fact that someone worked really hard and achieved something that very few people have and ever will.
Yeah.
um so yeah, I couldn't be happier for this person. I will want folks, and this I'm gonna bring this back to me. I will want people to celebrate me if I became a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? Especially if I wasn't doing nobody wrong and I wasn't out here doing folks dirty and I was, I was really just on my stuff and I was really doing it. Cause Sir Daniel, if you became a billionaire, I'd be like, yo, my bro is a billionaire. He don't even need to be on Q points no more, but he on Q points. Like he don't need to be.
Right. And on top of that, adding to people's lives. Like you said,
Yes.
I heard, I believe it was Kelly L. Carter, another journalist,
Love Kelly. Shout out to Kelly Carter, by the way. Hey.
absolutely. She was on another show earlier this week, and she was talking about how, as a Black woman, going into spaces to purchase makeup,
Mhm.
prior to a Fenty line, there wasn't much for her to pick from.
Right.
So this person has impacted lives.
Yes.
His impact. Makeup may not sound like a big deal to you or me because we don't wear makeup,
Right.
but there's millions of Black women specifically who this has changed their life and how they look at themselves, how they carry themselves. You know, just giving them a choice, just giving them options. So and how could you be mad at that? I can't. I'm not going to be mad at it at all.
I,
So
I'm choosing, I'm right with you. I'm choosing not to be mad at it. I'm choosing to celebrate it. And the fact that the fact that, Rihanna started as a music star, it's coming from the Black music fabric, has released so many hits. Dear God, Rihanna released like 9 albums in 8 years. Like, come on.
back to back to back.
Back to back, and was just like, you could tell, like I had this thing back in the day. I was like, child, she trying to get out of this contract because this baby is like, get me back in the studio, boo. Get me back in the studio,
And was able
boo.
to and able to have hits on every single album. Like
Not
some people,
easy.
that's not easy. Like people can
Mm-mm.
release projects all day long, but that doesn't
Yep.
mean it's going to be a hit.
Yep.
So
So shout out to Rihanna, shout out to Aaliyah and Barry Hankerson and them and Beyonce and them, and yeah, man.
it's just really wild. This has been a bittersweet week.
Hmm.
Again, losing another powerhouse. And like you said, a lot of people probably didn't even know who he was until he passed. And that's why we got Q points. I
That's
think
why
it's,
we got Q
and I
points.
think the fact that people are interested and hopefully will become more interested in knowing who the people are in the background. you know, that are writing the songs that you love and are producing the songs that you love. You know, you need to know who those people are and
Yeah.
celebrate them while they're here. And that's what we're doing.
Yes.
So I think we've covered just about everything that's happened over this week. We appreciate y'all for coming back.
Of course.
You know, every now and then we got to hit you with one of these hot topic shows because, you know, hey, there's just a lot going on. Like we said
Mhm.
earlier, you know, I'll call up J Ray. I'll be like, hey, did you see this?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I saw that. That's correct. That's wild. And we'll be like, can we build a whole show around that?
Mhm.
And then something else happens.
Right.
And then something else happens. It's like, well, look, this is just going to be one of those hot topic weeks. And so we appreciate you for being here for the ride, for subscribing.
Yes, and becoming a Q Points Insider, which you can do at qpoints.com. And if you go to qpoints.com, you could become a Q Points Insider. We're really looking to build. So, you know, we're at the beginning stages, but you get to be in the ground flow. So if you have questions, definitely email us at qpointstheshow@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at qpoints, and you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at qpoints, or Q Show on Twitter, and then on Facebook at qpoints.
Absolutely. And there will be questions of the week coming up again soon. So
Coming back.
all of that stuff is on the way. But you know what, guys? What do I always say? In life, you can either pick up the needle or you can let the music play. The choice is yours. I'm Sir Daniel.
I'm J Ray. Peace.
Peace. We'll see you next week.